What's up, my dudes? Oh, I still love you, baby. So, No Man's Sky, right? This is an interesting one. So, not only do I still love this game, but I still have so much, hope for this game. I still have so much, I don't know even what you call it, really. So much, I just feel in my mind this game hasn't even tapped into its full potential yet, right? Like, not even close. It has got the framework and the base to be literally the most amazing game times 10,000 times over, right? It's got the framework for it. It just needs a little more work put into it. And if you don't really know how this game's release and all that went down, it was pretty much, what am I? Okay, a little volcanic action. It was pretty much about as rocky as you could have a release for a game, right? Basically. A lot of the promised features weren't in there. Just a lot of weird stuff going on. It definitely wasn't the game a lot of us expected it to be from a lot of the early trailers. And so, but then what happened was Hello Games went on one of the most, I've never seen anything like it. I mean, to be honest with you, Hello Games did one of the craziest, post support things I've ever seen for a game. They're still working on the game. The game came out in 2016, which, granted, it was basically really an early access game. So what it should have been portrayed as and stuff. It was kind of portrayed as a full-blown finished product, right? But really, it was early access. So they've continued to support it, and you got to give them, the hats off for that. They didn't give up on it. They could have just took their money and ran, like a lot of companies have done. But they kept working on it, added a ton of the features that we expected to be in there from the beginning. Just for instance, the freighter battles, the little bit more of the variation side of things. It was so lackluster at the beginning. There's just so many things. I can't even think of anything because there's so many things that, Sean multiplayer, right? All these things that Sean Murray kind of promised at the beginning, and then it just didn't really happen when the game came out. Just for instance, in some of the trailers, we were seeing those gigantic, snake creatures slithering through the dunes. That's not a part of the game at all. Dune planets in general weren't really a part of the game when it first came out at all. All water planets are not a thing in this game, like they kind of portrayed, right? There's just a lot of things being able to name your ship wasn't a part of the thing at the start. All the different ship classes wasn't a thing. A lot of the lore, what you did with the AI in the game and the different races of the aliens and stuff was nowhere near what they were portraying it. There's just a lot of things, right? But and they've improved on so much of that, right? They've added a lot of other things that we never really thought would really be in the game, per se, like base building, vehicles, mounting up on creatures. I mean, there is just a plethora and a half of other things they've added to it at this point, and they've kind of added a multiplayer, right? Maybe not to the level we thought it was going to be, but this game definitely does have a multiplayer in it. So, but yeah. So I just wanted to talk about, though, I still feel like this game hasn't even kissed on the iceberg of what it could be or what we all kind of expected. And to me personally, what it all comes down to with No Man's Sky, really it's all about exploration in a real sense. Yeah, you can hop on one planet, build up a castle, gather resources, do all this other stuff. Yeah, you can do all this. They've kind of turned it into a little bit more of a sandboxy game in a sense, but really the whole main goal of it is oh, wow, I'm in this basically an infinite, unlimited universe, right? Multiple galaxies, multiple, quintillion planets, whatever, all these different solar systems with life-size planets. I feel like the real fun to No Man's Sky, the real point of the game is like, what's in that next solar system? What's going to be on this next planet? You know, it's that mystique. It's that mysterious, like, what's going to be there? I don't know what's going to be there. And when you first get into the game, it's really exciting because you're seeing all these different things for the first time, whether it's biomes, creature designs, you know, weather effects, rocks, plants, you know, all these different things you're seeing for the first time. So every time you go to a new planet, it's like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. Like, just all kinds of different stuff in this game, you know? And it's just like always a fun experience going to a new planet. But the problem is, still, in this game, in my opinion, the problem, one of the biggest problems with it, is once you go to like, I don't know, 50 planets or so, 50 to 100 planets, you start seeing how shallow, you know, the variation of the game truly is. You start seeing it, right? What starts to happen is it sort of kills your whole, like, the mysteriousness of the game, the excitement of the exploration of what's on the other side of that hill, what's on that other planet I see over there, you know, what's in this other solar system over here, what's in this other galaxy over here. You know, it just kind of goes from, you know, when I first flew in right here to this new solar system, like, oh my god, look how cool that planet looks, look at that cool water, like, what's going to be down there, you know, I don't know. But what happens is, the problem when you've been to like 50 planets, you pretty much already know what's going to be there. Like, yeah, there might be different, you know, terrain formations, and the way everything's laid out might be slightly different, but this game still doesn't even have 1/1000th of the variation that I thought it would have had, or that I would expect a game with quintillion planets in it to have, right? This is the one aspect of No Man's Sky still, to this day, with all the updates they've done, from the very beginning, this was my biggest problem with it, and it's still my biggest problem with it. They still haven't really fixed it, right? They've made improvements to it in ways and stuff, but they haven't really gotten it to the level that I thought it would be. And when I say variation, I mean variation in everything. Creature sizes, creature animations, model types, you know, plant types, plant sizes, plant models, weather effects, terrain formations, water types, waterfalls, rivers, the caves, the volcanoes, all this other, everything that can be on a planet in this game, I just don't feel like is nowhere near varied enough. I've already seen a creature like that 100 times in this game. Literally. 100 times in this game. Like, why? Why is it like that? I mean, it's just like, it starts to kill your imagination. I feel like that's what fuels No Man's Sky. That's really the endless fuel to the game, the endless potential and replayability to No Man's Sky is the wonder, the exploration, what's going to be in this water, like, what's going to be on the other side of this cave? Like, what could potentially be in this water? And once you've been to 50 planets, you've already seen every single kind of underwater, you know, model. Yeah, it might be slightly varied, like color or size, but I've already seen every model. I've already seen that model right there. Granted, it's cool, but I've already seen it literally probably 50 times in the game. I've already seen this fish model, this like puffer fish style model. I've already seen that at least 100 times in the game. It's just like, really? You would just think a game with this many planets, this many solar systems, this many life-size planets to go explore, you would just think you would be seeing different creatures on every planet, or different, you know, plants on every planet, and it's just not really the case. You see things way more frequently, way more repetitively than you should in a game of this size. And I feel like that's why a lot of people kind of brought up the analogy of, like, No Man's Sky is like an ocean that's only a foot deep, right? Really big, game's really big, but the depth of it is just not quite there variation-wise. Like, yeah, the planet's cool. Yeah, the procedural generation can make cool planets with oceans and ponds and mountains and caves and creatures and all this stuff, but it's nowhere near the procedural randomization that it should be. It's like there's not enough different creature models that it can potentially create. You know, there's not enough different creature sizes that it can potentially create. It's like 90% of the creatures in this game are just like a groundhog size. And every once in a while you'll see some bigger creatures, but for the most part it's just not really the case. And as far as the plants and the trees and the rocks, they're really just not that big. You never see, skyscraper trees. You never see tall trees like you're really in a thick, dense forest or jungle or anything like that. You don't see super deep oceans like you think you would. You don't see a lot of variations in the caves. There's still so much this game needs as far as planetary variation and creature variation. I've seen that exact same creature at least 50 times in this game. Maybe not that exact same color, but I've seen that exact same creature literally 50 times in this game. I mean, just think about that. Like, I fly to this new planet. I think it's going to be like a really cool new alien world that I've never experienced before, and that's the kind of vibe you get from the outside of it. But then I fly down on the planet. I've seen like 7 different creatures, and every single one of those creature models I've already seen in the game more than 25 times a piece, at least 50 times a piece. I mean, just think about how repetitive that gets, So then what happens is when I get back in my ship, and I'm wanting to fly to another planet, the problem that starts to happen is I start getting this vibe of like, well, I'm getting attacked right now. But you very quickly start getting the vibe of like, wow, now every other planet that I go to, I've already seen all the creatures and all the potential plants and all the potential, biomes and you get to a point, and I've not put a crap load of time into this game. Like, I put some time, right? I'm not going to lie. If I could try to like guesstimate it, I might have put like maybe 1,000 hours into this game. Maybe. That would be like the tippity top of probably the amount that I've put into this game. But if I could guesstimate, I've probably been to like maybe a total of maybe 500 planets in my whole time playing this game. 500 to 1,000 planets probably. Somewhere around that neighborhood. So, I've got a pretty good idea on what the hell can be on a planet in this game, but like at the same time, going to 500 to 1,000 planets in No Man's Sky, like you're not even scraping the 0.1% of the total amount of planets in the game. So it's just really confusing on how, like, I've not even, even broke into a percent of the total amount of places you can go in the game, and I'm already seeing such a repetitive nature to the variation of the planets, right? I can only imagine if you've been to 3,000 planets in this game, you've literally seen everything in the game. Literally. I'm not exaggerating when I say that. You've seen everything in the game. And what starts to happen is, like, if I've been to 100 planets and some dude over here's been to 100 planets, odds are we've both seen a lot of this very similar creatures, very similar biomes, very similar plants, right? So then it's like, what the hell is the point in even discovering anything and naming anything? Because everybody's seeing the same thing. You know what I mean? No matter if I'm on this side of the galaxy or that side of the galaxy, there's not enough variation, bro. When I mean there's not enough variation, I mean there's not even 1/1000th of how much variation should be in this game. Yeah, I appreciate everything Hello Games has done for the game with the updates. They're adding living, ships and walking mech things on the ground and whatnot. They're adding a lot of crazy stuff, but they're just still not even close. I just got to keep it real with you. They're not even close when it comes to the variation of what you would expect in a unlimited explorable universe, procedurally generated universe, just what you would expect that to be. It ain't even close to that, still, to this day. And a lot of people just seem to push this whole entire topic to the side, or just completely forget about this whole thing. It's really bizarre. It's like a lot of people that talk about this game have either not played it nowhere near enough to even see these repetitive things or something, or they just don't care about having an actual exploration No Man's Sky. They just care about it being an open sandbox and build a base and, woo, let's play Minecraft and No Man's Sky. I mean, I don't know what it is exactly, but if you're trying to get what No Man's Sky was supposed to be, what No Man's Sky was meant to be, it ain't quite there yet, dog. Variation-wise, it's just not there. I've seen every single plant that's on this planet right now. I've seen every single one of these plant models before, and rock models. I mean, literally. I was seeing this exact same rock model right here, 2-3 years ago, dog. Let me stutter. 2-3 years ago. That big claw, and it's got the little... Yeah, it's a cool rock model, but I don't want to see the same rock model 10,000 times over in an unlimited universe. You know what I mean? I've seen this exact same plant model. Why would I discover this? Why would I scan and discover and name this if this is literally on another, 100 million planets in the game? Why would I even do that? It defeats the whole purpose. You know what I mean? It's just why would I even do that? I don't know. I just really, definitely know down in the comments what some of you old school No Man's Sky dudes have been following this game for a while. You've really put some time into this game. Let me know what you think about this whole thing. I just think they're still not even close to the variation. I mean, even me coming back and playing every new update they put out, I come back and get into the game and see how much they've changed the variation. And yeah, they've taken, baby steps with it, but we're still not even a fourth of the way up the mountain of what variation that should be in a game of this magnitude, a game of this size, right? If I'm going to be spending time walking around these, quintillion life-size planets, I want to be seeing different creatures on each one of them. I want to be seeing, different plants and crazy tall plants and humongous underwater megalodon creatures and, dragons flying through the sky and, all this other, big old sand snakes slithering through the dune planets and, crazy crater caves that just, on one-of-a-kind type things. That's the problem. It's just the variation, the procedural nature of the game is nowhere near, the spectrum of it is nowhere near wide enough for a game of this size, right? The amount of variation in this game, I'll be honest with you, the amount of variation to it, I would expect a game like this to have maybe 1,000 total planets on it with this kind of variation. So to just put that into perspective, a game with quintillion planets should have that much more variation. You understand what I'm saying? You following me here, boys? I mean, literally, it feels like a game that you just go to 1,000 planets and you've seen everything in the game. Literally, that's what this game feels like. But either way, hopefully they can start adding more out in space. Space is really boring in this game. Hopefully they can start adding more out there and on asteroids and space creatures and, oh wow, what do you know? It's another creature that I've literally seen 10,000 times in this game. This long trimmer style. That was literally the first creature, the first underwater creature I ever saw in this game was that exact same model right there. That exact same model. Just to think about how insane that is. If you just want a comparison of how much they really haven't improved on variation over the years, all the way back in 16 when the crappy No Man's Sky, first crappy version of it came out, or whatever you want to call it, right? When that thing first came out, literally, the first creature I ever saw underwater looked exactly like this. I'm talking exactly like this, dog. Granted, this one's flying on this planet, but you get what I'm saying, though. You get the point that I'm making. Dog, why do I see the same, trimmer, elongated eel creature 20,000 times in the game? I don't understand it. Why? Why? I just don't understand it. Hello Games. Come on, guys. Yeah, you've improved a lot on your Discoveries page. I really appreciate that. Now I finally feel like it's actually like the Discoveries page that we thought we were going to get at the beginning of the game. Like some of the trailers literally showed at the beginning of the game. For the past 3 years, their Discoveries page has been an absolute disgrace. But now finally we can go in here and view this stuff like full 3D rotation. You know, really cool how you can come in here and look at this stuff now. But I don't know. And I think they need to allow like more species of creatures on one planet, you know? It's kind of weird how there can only be like whatever the maximum is, like 7 or 8 different species on a life-size planet. That's a little on the low side. I would think the maximum amount of, you know, creature species on an individual planet would be like 20 or 50 or something, you know? But it's just not the case. So, I don't know. Hopefully they can get their variation crap down at some point, but we just have to wait and see. I still love the game, but she needs some work. She needs some serious work on this aspect in particular. It's got to have it, dog. So either way, appreciate you guys watching all the videos. Later, dudes.